Lauderdale should have been a very good day. So because of your level of engagement and the level of participation and the outstanding presenters that we have, can you give them a clap this morning? Again, 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 again. Just wanted to make sure that the energy level was dialed up. Because today is the second day for a Step Up Fort Lauderdale. And in just a moment, we're going to have to say goodbye to our keynote speaker last night, Ms. Dee Cantor. So last night we started with this thing of kind of like, who's in the room? Who's in the room? So right now, I'd like to do another who's in the room. Who is in the room if this is your first time attending? Please stand. This is your first time attending. Ooh. Let's give them a clap again. All right, have a seat. If you've attended 2 or more symposiums, please stand. Give them a clap again. Okay, have a seat. If your team won a regular season or conference championship tournament, please stand. Your team won its regular season or conference championship, please stand. Give them a clap again. If your team went to the NCAA tournament, you received a bid to the NCAA tournament, please stand. If your program received a bid to the NCAA tournament, please stand. Give them a clap again. How about any postseason tournament? We'll take it. Great, great, great. Give them a clap again. So, last night we had an opportunity to do a little bit of networking. You had an opportunity to kind of get to know each other. And one of the things that we did was we acknowledged those people who've attended all 5 symposiums. Well, we were not disappointed because another one showed up this morning. We have from Kent State University, Miss Wakifa Herrera. Will you all please give her, stand. And we do have a certificate for her. Let's give her a clap again. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your continued support. I'd like to call Mr. Johnny Allen up because he wants to kind of create an opportunity for us to reflect on yesterday. We've asked you to complete your evaluations, Johnny has a quick activity and then we'll get started.
Usually when we're working together, Felicia does a lot of the motivational stuff and gives the facts, and what I generally try to do is get you up on your feet and processing the information that's been presented. So today, this morning won't be any different. Had a great day yesterday, had a couple of speakers at the on-court, and then we've got an exciting day planned for you today. So to get you in the room and get your mind going in a step up, what I'd like for you to do, remember the activity you did yesterday? Where I had you stand back to back with someone that you didn't know. Well, we're going to do that again, but we'll process a few different questions just to get you to meet someone else and discuss the agenda for the day and some of the things that you experienced yesterday. Can we do that? Okay. So, if you will, let's do it a little bit different. I'm going to get you to raise 1, 2, 3, or 4 fingers, 5 fingers in the air, and then I'm going to ask you to find someone that has the same number of fingers up that you do. And then you're going to stand back to back. And when you stand back to back, you'll be quiet. Back to back, you'll be quiet. Good. Then I'm going to give you some questions. And when you're done answering those questions, you'll stand back to back and you'll be quiet. Good. Then we'll have 1 or 2 rotations. So 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers in the air. We're going to give you 7 seconds to find someone and stand back to back. Ready, go.
2. 4, 3.
Back to back means? All right, first question is always, or the information you're going to share, name, school, university, how long you've been coaching, or if you're a free agent, remember the first one? That's always going to be the same. Second question is, what did you enjoy most about yesterday's on-court session? What was the takeaway? There you go. A takeaway from yesterday's on-court session would be the first question. The second question is a takeaway from our opening session, from the session with our official. What was your takeaway? So we got two takeaways. On-court, official. Ready? Go. 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Next question, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers in the air. 1, 2, 3, or 4 fingers in the air. Everybody, please. Everybody, please. Everybody. So, 7 seconds. New partner. Back to back. Go.
How you doing? Good. How are you?
3, 2, and 1. Okay. First question, same question, name, school, university. Second question is, what do you think one key into building a game-changing culture? What would be one key into building a game-changing culture in your program? Second question. What did you bring to the symposium? I asked you what you wanted to get out of it yesterday. Next question, what did you bring to the symposium? First question, name, university. Second question, what do you think it takes to build a game-changing culture? Third question, what did you bring to the symposium? Ready? Go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, last rotation. I'm going to ask Felicia to help me with this. Felicia, why don't you come and give them a couple questions for back-to-back.
Okay. Let's rotate one over. One over. Did you rotate already? No. Let's rotate one over real quick in 3 seconds. Rotate one over. Rotate one over. Just one over. One over. One over. Just one question. I want you to share with the person that you're with. In a moment, we're going to hear from a basketball legend. I'd like for you to share, what have you heard about Mr. Boo Williams and his impact on the game? What have you heard, or what do you know about Boo Williams and his impact on the game? Ready, go. That's my word. To our MC for today, Miss LaChina Robinson. The agenda is in your book for the remainder of the day, and Johnny and I will come back on the back end to provide some more housekeeping information for you. But this morning, Miss LaChina Robinson is here, and we're going to get started with the order of the day. Let's give LaChina a clap. Again.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are excited to start day 2. We're going to continue on with that energy this morning. We have a very, very special presentation to start off. And Felicia shared with us yesterday that the year 5 is what? golden, that's right. And she added a very special award. It's called the 2014 Step Up Assistant Coach of the Year Award. And it gives us the opportunity to really recognize some of the front runners in this business, some of the people who are setting the standard, setting the bar. And we have a very special honoree with us. Carol Owens is one of the most respected names in our game. When you look at the success that Notre Dame has had over time, Carol has been a very big part of that. 4 straight Final Four appearances for the Fighting Irish, and we all were glued to the television as they had their pursuit of perfection, right? Headed into the national championship game undefeated. And what I thought was very unique about Notre Dame's run this year and just so impressive was they were in a new conference. They were in the ACC, which was a tough league, and a conference where they had some unfamiliar opponents. So many of you in your league, you kind of know different teams. You say, oh, we're going to play, Harry Peretta. We know what he's going to do, right? Slow the ball down, keep the score in the 40s. You know they're going to shoot the 3. But when you don't know, that's a lot of work, a lot of digging, new venues, new travel. So I thought that what Notre Dame accomplished this year in the ACC really was very, very impressive. But Carol Owens is best known for her work on the recruiting trails, recruiting some of the best prospects in the country. Also her work with post players like me. She's been a part of USA Basketball. She was a developmental coach of the year at that level. She was also a gold medalist as a head coach in international competition with USA Basketball. She's very active with the WBCA. She's a BCA past president. Now keep in mind, Notre Dame also has a national championship, which they won in 2001. The national championship game, they played in 3 times. Final Four, 6 times. So these are just a few of the accomplishments of Notre Dame and what Carol Owens has helped to do while she's been there. Now there's something I do want to tell you about this award that I love, and I know Felicia mentioned this yesterday, but this award was selected by Carol's peers. So it was you guys that voted for the persons that you thought were the best coaches, that you looked up to, that you admired, that you thought did a good job. And some of the criteria for this award: team success, team improvement, previous season improvements, fulfillment of team potential, the professional manner and attitude of a coach. And that's probably the thing that I really admire most about Carol Owens. In a time where everyone wants the attention, and it's all about what about me, and what someone can do for me, and where's my credit. You talk about one of the most soft-spoken people I have ever been around. She's gonna say a few words in a minute. When I tell you she says a few words, if you've ever been around Carol, you know that she's very quiet. Does not look to get the credit, but behind the scenes she has done so much, not only for Notre Dame, but also just for the game in its entirety, and being a face and working tirelessly to grow it. So at this time, we would like to welcome the 2014 Step Up Coach of the Year, Carol Owens.
We want to get a quick picture with you, Carol. Thank you. This is crazy, but when Felicia told me that I won that award, I was shocked but humbled, because there's a lot of great assistant coaches out there. And so I'm just very thankful. Felicia and Johnny, they do a great job for this symposium. I think it's wonderful. I think it's something that's needed in our game. And so I'm very appreciative that I've been able to come here as many times as I have been able to. But I work with a great staff, and I'm fortunate to work with Muffin McGraw, who's also my mentor. Neil, Ivy, and Beth Cunningham, they're great to work with, but I wouldn't be able to have
the opportunities that I have if it wasn't for Muffet and the program that she has. We're in a profession that it gets hard, and I think when we find a time when it gets hard, those moments, we have to remember what we're doing it for, and we're doing it to groom leaders, grow people, and I think that's what it's all about. So I'm just very humble. Like LaChina said, I'm a person of few words, but this award is I'm very grateful for it, and I thank all of you who have voted, you know, there's just a lot of great coaches out there, and it's hard for me to accept an award like this, but I'm truly humble and thankful. Thank you.
Now, we would also like to acknowledge the top 5 vote getters for this award. Carol obviously was #1 representing Notre Dame. Nikki McCray from South Carolina was also the top 5. Andrew Calder from North Carolina. Marlon Chin, where are you? From Maryland. Stand up, Marlon. Give him a round of applause. And Chris Daly of Connecticut. So congratulations to everyone, but especially Carol. Thank you so much for the work that you do. We are going to do something. We're going to continue on with our program and have our Legends speaker. Unfortunately, Mike Flynn has some travel issues this morning, so he's unable to be with us right now. But he will be with us later this afternoon, so we will be plugging him into the schedule. So we will still hear from him. But we have another legend in the game in Boo Williams. And first of all, anybody got a relative named Boo in here? Raise your hand. I feel like, I know I'm not the only one. My dad is actually a Boo. They call him Cut Boo. And so that name right away just makes me think of family. But since 1982, Boo Williams has been instrumental in every level of development for girls and boys basketball. He started an AAU program back then, over 30 years, with only 4 teams. Now y'all know he got more than that now, right? Boo Williams has contributed so much to not only the grassroots development of young men and women, but also helping them pursue their dreams of playing college basketball. He serves on various committees to help grow the game and also identifying some of the best talent as high as some of our future Olympians. Now, there's also a Boo Williams Sports Complex, which is a $13.5 million facility where he houses a lot of these young people and gives them the space they need, not only to play basketball, but various sports. And I'll tell you this, as a young girl growing up in Virginia, you heard Boo Williams all the time. I'm from Alexandria. So for me, this is kind of like you see the wizard, you know, and he's doing all these things, and you're wondering who's behind the curtain. And this is my first time actually seeing him, so I am just honored really to have him here and to be able to thank him in person, as I know we all will, for what you do for our young boys and girls. And at this time, we would like to welcome Boo Williams.
How's everybody doing this morning? Good. One day y'all sound like my team. It's an 8 o'clock game. How's everybody doing this morning? Good. Well, I tell you what, I hope y'all have 8 o'clock practice. Let me tell you a little about myself. I've been doing it for 32 years. I've probably been doing this long, some of y'all been living. So I've seen players come, I've seen players go. I have some of the greatest players of all time. In 32 years, I've coached 3 #1 draft picks, 18 lottery picks, 27 first rounders. I think we coach right now in NBA. I think we got about 14 guys in NBA, and we got about 3 girls in the WNBA. So I've seen it all on recruiting trail. And then the old days were great. The old days, they ain't had no rules. I love the old days. The old days, no rules is the rules. If you want to see a kid, you know how many times they saw Moses Malone? University of Moses Malone 112 times. 112 times they saw Moses Malone. See, back in the day, you could tell people want to work and people who don't want to work. Because there's no rules. You want to call a kid, you call a kid. You didn't have to go through the AU coach. You just call him just to be nice to him. Now you got rules. You got limited how much you can call a kid, how much you can talk to a kid. I mean, just so many rules now. I wish we'd go back to the old days. In the old days, they tell you if you could work and you couldn't work now. You couldn't bullshit the old days now. The old days, you could work or you couldn't work. Everybody's so soft now. I want to touch on 5 things we're going to talk about. As assistant coach, this is what you get your head coach fired. If you cannot evaluate talent, you will get your head coach fired. If I'm the head coach, I'll fire you before you get me fired. That's the first thing I say. Always be ready to have your resignation in your desk. So you can always give it up. You got to be able to evaluate talent. That's where you can't make a mistake on evaluating talent. You make a lot of mistakes in this business. You got to make a mistake on evaluating talent. You got to evaluate talent. Anybody can tell you they're great players. Evaluate talent, somebody who's going to be great. That's when you're really good at this now. You can evaluate a kid that's going to be great. I don't go with scouting force. I see people order on scouting force. You don't need no scouting force as long as you can see. You don't need a scouting force. Don't order on. The only thing the reason you order on scouting force is to be nice to the people you order for. Go out there and look at the people. I always tell our coaches, first thing you need to do is go to a practice. You don't need to see a kid in a game. How does the kid practice? If the practice out of 8, when she get to 8, that is the girl you don't want. Because you got to get somebody going to work at it. You got to be able to evaluate talent. Do she stay after practice? What kind of work ethics does she have? What kind of kid she is? How does she deal with her teammates? How does she deal with her coaches? You all got to practice. Game time, everybody ready for game time. I call it 8 o'clock knockout. At 8 o'clock, everybody ready to play. Practice. Are they willing to practice? That's very important. I think you got to be at practice. Second thing, how to respond to the coaches. Ask the teachers how to respond to teachers. How to respond to teammates. You got to get as much information, intel, I say as much intel on a kid that you can get. Because that kid holds your paycheck. No doubt about it. You make too many mistakes there, you will not have a job. You got to get every information. I tell when I go to schools, look at kids, you know, first person I talk to that knows everything in the school. Who do you think knows everything in school? No, the custodian. The custodian. He don't only pick up the garbage, he pick up every garbage in there. He knows or she knows everything that goes in that school. And you want to know about a kid, ask the custodian. And the information you want to know about, the custodian will know. This is old school now. This ain't new school, this is old school. Go to that custodian. That custodian will know what's going on. Don't go to the teacher gonna bull jive you, the coach gonna bull jive you. That custodian will tell it like it is. That's the only way he knows or she knows what it is. They're gonna be raw apples. Then you need to make sure when you evaluate talent, you got to see where the kid gonna be 3 years from now. You know, always remember, big kids develop later. You might get a big kid that's kind of raw. I had a kid named Joe Smith, that went to University of Maryland. He got cut from our program when he was a 6th or 7th grader. They said he will never be good. He was awkward. He just didn't run right. He just didn't look right. By the time he was in the 12th grade, he got better. His freshman year and sophomore year at the University of Maryland, he became the #1 draft choice. So in 6 years, he developed to a kid that got cut to the #1 draft choice. You know what I did to that coach? Fired. He can't evaluate talent. You gotta be able to evaluate talent. You can't make a mistake. You make a mistake everything in life in this game. You can't make a mistake on evaluating talent. Don't read scouting reports. All these scouting services, you got to tell you I got more scouting services. This ranking. The ranking ain't nothing but a number. I tell you when people say I want to get a McDonald's, don't make sure you get a Burger King. Because that will get you fired. Talent will get you fired. You get a whole lot of McDonald's that can't play, you will get fired. Make sure you get somebody who can play. And that's the biggest thing I think coaches they recruit. They don't recruit. They just go out there and look for talent. So you gotta make sure you evaluate talent. Second thing I think you got to be able to do in this business, to be good at it. You got to be able to build a relationship. You got to have a relationship. You got to make sure these players now are half nuts. They are nuts. Crazy, no crazy. I tell kids, I'm not just psychologist, but you got to be one now. Build a relationship. Make sure you have a good relationship with everybody that might be involved in that kid. Make sure you understand that. Make sure you do your intel. Is there a mother? Is there a father? Is there a grandma? Is there a coach in there? You got outside influences. How much is the AAU coach, the travel team coach involved? Make sure you do all your homework on that. That's important. I think a lot of times assistant coaches do not do their homework. They're very bad at that. Spending time with them. I think you got to spend time with the young lady. You got to spend time with them. On the phone, got to spend time with them. Get all that in. Even if it's small talk. And then once you get into university, you got to spend time with them. Because I tell people, recruiting is like dating. Everybody love you when they're dating. When you get married, that wife and that old man ain't the same. So make sure you spend some time with them. The biggest response I get from my kids is, the coach is not like I thought it would be. Did you talk to the coach? Did you ask the question? Don't be afraid to ask the question to them. Because now you know, I don't know on the women's side, I don't know on the men's side. On the men's side, 432 transfers. Let me make sure you understand. This year on the men's side, 432 transfers. These cats, how do these kids now? If they don't play what they do, they out of there. They don't work to get better, they out of there, they transfer. There were 432 transfers this year with the men's side. So you gotta make sure you understand about it. You gotta make sure you understand relationship, how important is playing time. Because girls basketball is different than boys. Boys, if you had a big school, a BCS school, the kid will always what? Always leave. After junior year, some kids on the boys side think about leaving before they get in there. I'm telling you, I'm a boy. They think about how they gonna get out before they even get in. And you can always tell a boy gonna leave after the first semester they don't go to class. The president know it, the AD know it, the coach knows they're gonna leave. Because the books go in the trash can, they never see a class. But on the girls' side, it's a little different now. I tell our girls all the time, that 21 and 22-year-old young lady there, and not coming into the freshman, Kyle, you here, I'd love to have it, I'm glad you're here, you can take my spot. That don't happen. That don't happen. So you gotta make sure they understand playing time. Playing time is important to kids. And they understand, kids understand how it takes to play. We get back to watching kids. Watch the kids in high school in the preseason. Biggest problem with freshmen now, they don't know how to come into work. They can't make the time, they don't know how to lift weights. Now if you gotta teach them all that, now you gotta know going in what you gotta teach them. You gotta make sure you tell the head coach, be truthful with your head coach. Don't tell the head coach a lie. This kid is ready to play. The kid ain't ready to play. You didn't see the kid one time on the track. Can the kid make the time? Can the kid make the time to be able to play? Can the kids get in the weight room? These are the questions you got to know. You can't guess on this. Because you know if you got what you got to take to do to be successful in your league and program. So you must spend time with it. Understand the whole picture. The mental and the physical. Mental is so important now. You got to make sure your mind is on your mind. Everybody on the same page. Because let me tell you what, if they ain't on the same page with you, these kids are a whole different world. Outside influences. Parents. The world has changed. The world has changed what it used to be. Parents, let me tell you what. Parents, you must make sure that parent is crazy, that kid ain't too far from it. Let me say it one more time. If that fool is crazy, that kid is not too far from it. So you see that mama act crazy at the game, that's how she is. And when you take it back to your head coach, I tell the head coach, that is how that girl is. You deal with it. But when Allen Iverson played with me, boy, what a hell of a player. 2 hours, that was the greatest time of my life. The other 22 hours gave me hell. Because if something comes up, he's always in the middle. But I told Big John, in his big days, in his good days, his good coach, told Big John, this is what you got. Now ain't no secret what I got. I'm gonna tell you what you got now. What you deal with. They don't come back and tell me, nobody ever tell me, say, Boo didn't tell me. I tell coaches everything. So it's up to you to deal with it. I'm not telling you don't take the kids. At least you know what's about the kids, what about. I said, Alan's gonna be a heck of a player for 2 hours. But in the other 22 hours, you will catch hell. After 2 years, Coach Thompson said, you're right. So that's the main thing for the parents. Make sure you understand the parents. Because these parents are nuts about playing time, how they think, and you got to make sure how you will control your parents. This is important now. Also, how you control the outside influence as the AU coach and travel team coach. You got to have a relationship with them, but you can't have them on your program. Also, I always tell people, tell assistant coaches, get people who come from good high school coaches and good travel team coaches. Most likely, if they went through their program, they can put it with you. Because that's changed, so that's the biggest thing changed too. When I come along in the old days, all the travel team coaches and AU coaches had a job. Some of the travel team and AU coaches, this is their job. Everybody work for a living. Now, that ain't the case now. These young men and young women, this is their job, coaching these kids. So make sure you got a relationship with them, make sure you understand them. And lay down the law. I'm always saying for person, we lay everything on the front end, so there won't be no problem on the back end. The older you get, I don't like surprises. I hate surprises. So you gotta make sure you control the outside influences. Fourth thing, as assistant coach, you gotta work. Oh, you gotta work. Oh man, you gotta work. I tell our kids and the people I've always, you only gotta compete against 1% of the population. The other 99% of the population is lazy. In life, you only gotta compete against 1% of the population. Other 99% of people will not work. They come up with excuses. No one excuse assistant coach said they cheated. Now let me tell you what cheating. If you deal against school X and you know how they are on the front end and they recruit that school, if you want to stay in it, don't tell me they cheat. You know what they are about when they get in. Do your homework. Don't say nobody cheating. If somebody cheats, you beat the cheat. Because first thing everybody says, well, they cheated. Oh, well, you knew when certain schools did it, you know what they're going to do. And that's okay. I'm big on that. You got to work. You got to work at it. Are you there for 8 o'clock in the morning for games? Are you there for that? Are you there when nobody else is there? How much time are you spending on making sure you're evaluating talent, building relationships, and understanding all the outside influences? How much time are you spending? Because that's one thing you can't allow is time. And one thing you can't get back is time. I tell people, I get money back, I can get a lot of things in life, I can't get money, I can't get time back. So you only have 24 hours in a day. If you waste it, the next day move on. I tell people that the day is May 2nd. I think it's May 2nd. May 3rd, that's how time flies. Today is May 3rd. One thing about May 3rd, 2014, this day we won't get back. We'll get a lot of things back in life, but we won't get this day back. So make sure you work at it. Make sure you work. Make sure you see kids you want to make. Get the philosophy of the coach. Make sure you have a philosophy. I think a lot of times teams flum and don't do well because they don't have a philosophy what they want. What kind of players they want. What kind of philosophy. If you're a pressing team, you want athletes. If you're a team that be patient, you want shooters, you go out and get shooters. If you're a shoot team and like shooters, don't get kids that can't shoot. Make sure you understand all that. Work ethic. Work ethic is so important. I think you gotta work at it. Have to work at it. Another thing I think people don't do a lot of, the 20 hours you practice, everybody got to do that because that's mandatory. Find kids that will come in and do that lonely hour. Whether it's them in the basketball, they're going to spend time. If they don't do it in high school, they're not going to do it in college. How much time do they spend when it's just them shooting the basketball? I told one kid, if you want to be a better shooter, you got to shoot 10,000 jump shots and make 10,000 jump shots in 6 months. If you make 10,000 jump shots in 6 months, you become a better shooter. But are you willing to make that time? You might have to take 15, 18,000 jump shots to be that, to get that 10,000 made. How much time is the young lady willing to spend on it? That's important there. Because they're not going to spend no time to get better. And in 20 hours, the only thing you got a kid that can work 20 hours, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win the consistent that you want to win. The one thing different in girls basketball and boys basketball, kids don't leave, so the top teams stay good a long time. That's a big difference. In boys basketball, if you're at Carolina, them cats leave after junior year. But if you're at Connecticut on the girls side, them cats stay. It don't change. You got Bill Harley for 4 years. You got them cats 4 years. Them cats have been there for 4 years. The boys side, you can say, the amount of time, maybe sophomore they gone, freshman they gone. No, not on the girl side. That's why you won't see a lot of changes on the top. You want to be a head coach, you got to act like you want to be a head coach. You got to look like you want to be a head coach. Head coach got something different about it. They look like they're a head coach. They got that persona about them, they want to be a head coach. That's a big difference, want to be a head coach and is a head coach. And then you got to be the CEO of your program. I tell a kid, this is a business. Treat it like a business. Not personal. We don't make personal decisions. Not personal. I tell kids all the time, I play somebody I don't like. No, they can help me win. Because at the end of the day, there ain't no numbers that they're basketball at the end of the day. This is the only profession. Doctors and lawyers, they got your record. You live by a record. Doctor, they don't say how many people you saved, how many people you lost. As a lawyer, you know how many cases you won, how many cases you lost. You have a record to go by here. Organization and management. You have to be organized, have to manage your business. You got to manage your business. You have to manage your business. You got to pick the right assistant coach. Oh God, you got. Now this will get you fired as a head coach. Getting people don't understand how to work and don't understand what it's about. It's tough enough to manage the kids. If y'all got to manage the coaches, I ain't got time for those. Patience is not one thing I'm getting better at. Make sure you get people that like you. If that assistant coach that don't want to work, don't get them. If they don't put no time in it, that's no good for you. Get good people. Have a clear-cut plan of where you want to be. As a head coach, you wouldn't need where I want to be in 2 years, where I want to be in 3 years, where I want to be in 5 years, and in 7 years. And don't curtail that plan. I tell you, have a clear-cut plan, you won't be a head coach. As you want to be a head coach, first thing I would look at now, look at people now that you might want to be on your staff. I always tell coaches, don't hire people you don't want. No. Do not hire people you don't know. You got to make sure you know that person you hire. This ain't a business on chance. You take a chance. You be better than going out here and playing lottery. Do not take chances. Hire people you know, because that's a mistake you can have. Hire people you don't know. I hear that all the time on the men's side and on the women's side. I thought. You don't think. You know what you got. Same thing about play. I know what I got. I got Miss Doe here. I know how she is. It ain't nothing about chance. You don't take this business, it ain't about chance. Fourth thing. You got to be able to market your program. You got to put your brand. You got to market. You got to be out in the community. You got to market your program. As a head coach, you got to be able to market your program. You got to be out there. You can't be on the golf course every day. Because if you're on the golf course every day, I tell kids, if you're not working, somebody else is. The game has changed so much. When I was coming up, you just had to be the best player in Virginia. Then when you get a little older, you had to be the best player in the country. Now you got to be one of the best players in the world. In the NBA itself, it's 22% in the NBA, English is their second language. Let me make sure you understand. 22% in the NBA, English is second language. That's where girls gonna go next. Coaches look for wins and losses. They don't look for if you can speak English. Now, they don't look for, I don't care if they can speak whoever they speak. At the end of the day, we go by wins and losses. That's all they care about, wins and losses. And let me tell you short story. You know, baseball, I don't think y'all old enough for around here baseball. When I was coming up with baseball, baseball, it used to be a whole lot of minorities in baseball, African American. Baseball, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and all the rest of them. Do you know in baseball now, only 4% of baseball is African American? The game can change. 4% now. They look black, but they ain't black. There's only 4%, so don't think this game can change now. I told my father only 4%, he think I'm smoking crack. Relationship. The fifth thing is that the head coach, make sure you have a relationship with all your players and coaches. Administration. First thing you ask for a job for administration, what's your goals? I know my goals is what's your goals? Because me and you ain't got the same goals, they ain't gonna last long. I'm not gonna last long. I tell people once, be very careful, make sure you interview who interviewing you. Because the first thing, don't leave a good job to get fired for a job you think gonna be good. I always tell people, just because our grass is green on our side, it might got a little brown in it too. I see a lot of coaches go for a head coaching job, they give them a better job as assistant to be a head coach and get fired. And that happens all the time. People say, I want to be a head coach. And it ain't always made out to be now. You might make a little bit of money, but at the end of the day, money goes fast. And then you don't think you got no job to show for it. Make sure you understand what the administration wants. That's a key, I'm telling you. That administration, when that AD leaves, you will go on the look. Because sometimes new AD comes with new ideas. Always look at that. Them 5 things I think as a head coach. You gotta be a CEO, you gotta be organized, you gotta manage your program. You gotta have a clear plan. You gotta market your program, you gotta have relationships. Make sure you understand all the details. Where's basketball going? The future. A lot of times girls follow the boys on certain things they do. A lot of things. And boys change, basketball change a lot. One thing we should think boys change is reclassification. I think that will come with the girls. I don't know if y'all deal with reclassification a lot here. Boys we deal with a lot. My boys team, I got 11 kids, 9 are reclassified. When our kids were reclassified, sometimes they give a better chance to get a scholarship or play on a higher level. They go to private school. Well, other time we never had kids in private school. Now 9 or 11 of my kids, boys on private school. I can see the girls going that way, changing the thing. Because all these parents are agents. They are agents. They are going to do what to help their daughter get better. If they take them, say, another year in high school, they'll do it. You're going to see a change in the future, kids' reclassification, and having that on the board. That's important. Because what a kid look like, a low major, might be a mid-major to a BCS player right away, or just 1 year makes a difference. Second thing I see a change in, the elimination of post play. That would be a change, the elimination of post play. Nobody plays 2 posts now. You can get by now with a post and stretch forward. That's all you need. The elimination post play. When I played, you had 2 back-to-basket plays. Now ain't no 2 back-to-back plays. That number 4, you can play out there on the wing now. That 4 can play on the wing. They shoot jump shot. If you don't have a 4 that's a stretch 4, Roy Hibbert, they can't find a play. He can play in there. This guy's all NBA All-Star. He can't get in the game because he can't guard nobody. He can't guard nobody on the floor. The stretch 4. I don't know where they come with these names. Now today, 2 post players is gone. It's going to be a stretch 4. Third thing going to be happening in the future. You're going to see the elimination of point guard. Because they're hard to find. If you got a good point guard, you save them and make sure you get a second one so in case that first one go down. So that point guard position is hard to find. It's hard to find if a young lady or her man to be a point guard. They ain't got that many in the pros that's good point guard. They understand how to play. Huey Brown told me 3 things for a good point guard. I said, Huey, I was young like y'all are. What it takes to be a good point guard? He said 3 things. He said, boo. He said, son, I'm going to take 3 things, son. You can play in the NBA, you can do 3 things as a point guard. 1, if you can lead your team. Man, that sounds easy. Lead your team. He said, right, you can lead your team. What's your turnover assist ratio? Can you get everybody involved? Can you lead your team? 2, can you defend the other point guard? Can you keep the other point guard out of the lane? Man, I said, that sounds easy. 3, make good decisions. That's only 3 things he said you got to do. To be a great point guard, he said 3 things. Can you lead your team? Can you defend the other point guard? Can you make great decisions? I said, damn, that ain't a lot. He said, there's only 5 great point guards in the NBA right now. 5 in the NBA. It's hard finding girls and guys to be a point guard. You will see the elimination of point guard. You will see going back to the old days when you had 2 guards. There were no point guard. I don't think some of y'all will now when you didn't have no point guard with 2 guards. Third thing I see is fourth thing rather, I think in the future, you will see female coaches on men's staff. I'm telling you what I talk to men coaches all the time. You will see, because now in the old days, I thought, it used to be different. I coached boys and girls for 32 years. It used to be different coaching a boys team and coaching a girls team. Now, these cats, ain't no difference. No different. The boys are just like the girls. They whine, they cry, and all that. They ain't no different than the SOBs. They ain't no different. They got the mamas, the daddies, they soft and all that stuff. All the time, they used to get a boy that used to be a tough cat. Oh, shit. Since the internet came out, they went out there. They don't want to play no basketball. All they want somebody to give them something. They think this church. I think this ain't the welfare state. Ain't no difference coaching the boys team, coaching the girls. Ain't no difference. Only thing different, one is male, one is female. Personality is the same. Everybody wants the same. You will see female coaches over men's staff. Because at the end of the day, it's no difference coaching men and coaching women. No difference. So I think these are 4 things in the future. You will see the reclassification in women's basketball. Kids looking to get better situation. 2, I think the elimination of post play. The back to basket day is over. I mean, that's a shame that even people don't even run offense now we're back. When I came, we had double no post. There ain't no double down there. Now it's a single post. They all got 4 people running around like they're crazy. Elimination of point guard because you can't find them. And when you find them, you will keep them. If I was a college coach, the first thing I do is give me a point guard. Then I fill in the rest of the spots. I'm telling you, the first thing I do is give me a point guard. Then I fill in the rest of the spots. The rest of the spots will take care of itself. Because I got a good point guard. He will get the shooter ball. She will get the shooter ball. She will get everybody involved that need to get involved. But finding a point guard, remember the 3 things I told you that Hubert Brown told you. 4th thing, I think female coaches in the male sport. Is there any questions? Any questions?
I use my coach's voice. Travis Mays, University of Texas. Well, can you tell me what you think the reason that it's so hard now today to find point guards? Why is there been an extinction of point guards?
A good question. You know why I think the media and us. Everybody wants a point guard to score. The best point guard I ever had averaged 2 points a game. Because he knew how to get everybody involved in the game. He knew how to, he had 2 points a game. He got 2 big kids that couldn't play dead, big time scholarship. He knew how to get the lane, dump it off to him. The media made everybody want to be a scorer. Everybody put scoring averages up. When they do the rankings, they rank them on what the point guard scored. They don't understand the point guard position. That's why one reason why it is. And the mentality of the parents and the high school coaches and the travel team coaches and the point guard. We don't teach point guard. I think that's something you got to be taught at a young age. I think you can't develop a point guard. Point guard is already made. It's already made. So if you got to develop a point guard, first thing you can do is have a 2-guard champion point guard. That's a disaster. I'm telling you what disaster is, a 2-guard champion point guard, disaster, disaster, disaster.
I'm always interested. I'm sorry. Marlon Church, University of Maryland. I'm always interested to hear pretty much everybody's idea on how do you handle crazy parents.
I need to take my stuff and go because of parents. And you know how crazy parents is. I'm not trying to be funny. Don't think. I hear parents say, call Coach K up Ask why they don't play. Are you crazy? You call coach crazy? Ask about playing time? Because people don't want to work. How you handle crazy parents? First thing, you don't take them. Then you take them, you know what you got. I mean, when you take a crazy parent, you know what you got. You know that father's crazy, you know that mom's crazy. When you take that parent, you can set some rules and regulations. It depends where you're at, mom. If I'm at a certain university, I would say, this is where I'm going to lay down the law. This is where it is. When you step out of line, you got to go. You give them one chance. You got to go. Now, some programs, they ain't got this. Some programs put up a whole lot of stuff. But some programs, I'm telling you, that what problem with crazy parents is like cancer. Once they get in the body, it just spreads. They get other parents going. They get other people going. That's like a kid that's a bad kid on your team. A bad kid on your team not only affect that kid, it affects 2 or 3 other people on your team. So it's hard to get rid of crazy parents unless you make that decision with funny. Is there any more questions?
Well, I think that's all we have time for. But thank you so much, Mr. Boo Williams. A lot of knowledge, experience. And we want you to share on Twitter some of the things that you heard from Boo Williams. I think a lot of people could learn from his knowledge. And again, that's hashtag #StepUp2014. You also have a list of Twitter names on your table. So if you want to include any of our speakers, that information is there. And I just wanted to share 2 quick things about Boo Williams. Well, one, really, I have a good friend that works with him named Tiffany Sykes and worked with some of his travel teams. And she shared with me a couple weeks ago that Boo approached one of his sponsors and said, you know, we have this luxury on the boys' side, and he just was very adamant about having equal for the girls' teams, and he ended up accomplishing that, but it was his efforts in stepping up. A lot of times, you know, girls and boys basketball can be very different, but in Boo's eyes, he wants for the girls the same things, the same benefits that he has for his boys' team. So we appreciate that in all of your efforts. And right now, we're going to turn it over to Felicia.
Let's give Boo a clap. Again. You can't pay for what he does. Although have you all seen that book, The Millionaire Next Door? That quiet secret guy? One of the things that I've loved about Boo, I think that one of my favorite things is it says that the greatest good that you can offer the world is not to share with him your riches, but to reveal to him his own. Boo has made a lifetime of revealing to young people all of the special talents and gifts that they possess. And he's created a countless number of opportunities. I don't think Mike Flynn is going to be real happy when he hears it. He tells y'all not to buy that scouting service, though. But one of the things that I love about him is that he's always real, and that he's sincere, he's genuine, and he's true. And so we're honored that you would make the time, because your schedule was crazy, that you would make the time to be here. I think he got in after midnight last night because his day was so packed on yesterday. So thank you again. Also, want to ask if you all can give Carol Owens a clap. Again, because I think you got to give honor where honor is due. Carol has made a lifetime of dedicating herself to this, and I think Maya Angelou says that you don't have to be loud and jump about in order to be noticed. I think that she's noticed by simply being who she is. So be who you are.
While you guys may not have even been here, I was coaching 5 games a day, every day, 16s and 18s, 13s and 15s. I stopped counting about 2005, 700 and some losses. After that many games, oh, I forgot. I also worked for the Philadelphia Bulletin, Philadelphia Daily News. What was I doing? High school sports, keeping stats of games, football and basketball. When you keep enough statistics, you sort of get a feel for what the game is. And then when I went to Temple University, there was a professor, Dr. Joseph Oxidine. He wrote a book, The Effects of Anxiety upon the Performance of a Motor Skill. Most of you, oh, how do we treat our players? How do we talk to them? He proved in his findings, and he was at Pembroke State, came to Temple, came in and ran Hyper D department when it was AIAW days, when there was no recruiting rules whatsoever. And he proved that, hey, if you raise the anxiety and the performance of a motor skill, you will get optimum performance. So if I talk like this, I'm not getting your attention. But if I yell like this, I may go past that plateau of performance. Why do I tell you that? Because not every player is equal when you talk to them, and neither is an adult. But if you're in this business long enough, you get to meet everybody. Most of you saw you play in high school. If I didn't, I saw your bosses play in high school, which is kind of scary. Brenda Fries, Tricia Cullop, Michelle Joseph. They were 19 years old, freshmen in college, and I'd be like, go get me a soda. Go down to Long John Silver and get me lunch. Where's my car out front? Now they're all successful college coaches, making great money. I am so happy for them. That makes me proud, makes me happy. But I also get in their faces when I have to and say, hey, be the best. But sort of, you don't really do that anymore because they're really there. That's a little bit of the history of the game. While I wasn't doing basketball, I was traveling the world. I've been to most of the major art museums, saw so many exhibitions, paintings that you see in books. I went around the world and saw them. Been everywhere. I was in Kiev a year before Chernobyl. Saw Mount Ararat and Mount Ararat when you see Noah's Ark. Rock of Gibraltar, all these different travels. Was in Jakarta this past year to watch the 3-on-3 championships. Was back in Singapore. If you ever want a great place to go high, have a great time, Singapore. Most 5-star hotels in the world. That gives you some background. The Bells started that. I got into basketball because I would go to a court and I saw girls. Most of you don't know, I have a twin sister. So that's why it's kind of weird, because I don't look at male and female basketball as different. I look at it as equals. So I guess that's why I have an opinion. I'm passionate, because if I didn't come home with the same grade as my sister, you got beat. And if you were measured on the performance of equality. So women sometimes want to get an advantage, and guys sometimes want to act like they can take an advantage, and vice versa. They use their positions. I hate that. And the reason I hate that is because, for me, I grew up, everything's equal. I grew up across the street, from a project, a bunch of lower income people, and I was like, well, I'm in the same neighborhood, so I can't be that much better. So life isn't like making $1 million or stuff like that. It's about struggling to have a great life. I think I've had one. With all that being said, you do this long enough, you get to see everything. Every time a job opens, there's immediately a crew of people, like the insiders, as you would say. We all talk about, all right, who's going to get the job? We even talk about who's going to get the job before they open. We talk about kids. I'll go to the USA trials at the end of the month. I'll see all of them there. Everybody says it's politics. I'm like, of course it is. If I see something and I say that's what I saw, that's political, because I saw it. Oh no, it's favoritism. No, you perform. So I'll be there at the end of the month looking at a lot of players some of you want to recruit. Been doing it so now at this point, I really don't have too much to do. I'm sort of getting recognized. It's one of those adages. I told Boo, by the way, why me and Boo speak together this morning, I missed him, we talked on the airport coming out. There would be days we would talk at 11 o'clock every night on the dot. One year, we were talking at Christmas night on the phone. And he gets, and I'm like, Boo, what are you doing? He says, I got to call you back. I said, where are you going? It's Christmas night. He says, I got to go over to Sportsplex. Before he got to Sportsplex, we ran around the world. We had some fun. We saw some basketball. I think I spent 2 winters watching the Super Bowl in Russia with Boo Williams. We were looking at one of the young guys, Karolenko. We watched him when he was like 18 years old. Dirk Nowitzki played in Paris. Saw him when he played against the Boost team when he was 17 for the German national team. Saw the first McDonald's boys game when it was called the Capital Classic in DC. All those sort of things. So you got a history. Why I tell you all that? Because when I tell you about these positions, your future, your jobs, I'm speaking from authenticity, not some like man's opinion who doesn't know what he's talking about, which a lot of people want to devalue an opinion with. That's why, as you could probably tell from other people, do I have an attitude? Yeah. Why? Because I don't care. I've had the top people in this sport get on the phone, you know who they are, both of them yell at me at different times, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm not to be bought, I'm not to be coerced, I'm not to be told anything. If you're fair and nice, that's all I ask. Take care of people, take care of your people, take care of your people. Take care of your players, take care of my people. I'll do whatever I can to help, I guess you would say, my people get ahead. Why? What else is there? One thing we talk about, a lot of people in basketball, is like, why men, why women? Why is the men's game different? Women don't share. I was coming over talking to Becky Evans, I said, let me give you a better example. If I'm a woman, I guess I have a twin sister. If I'm a woman and I have a dress and I really like it, and you say, hey, where'd you get that? I'm going to hesitate and say, well, yeah, I don't, a friend of mine. Why would I tell you where you can get that same similar dress and look as good as I do, maybe better? And then you're going to get all the attention. I mean, I know it sounds simple and petty, but that's the women's game. And that's the uniqueness of sitting at these tables and switching around, is sharing. This happens in men's game all the time. When I was in high school as a manager, I saw people go to the bars after the games and go there and sit there for 3 and 4 hours. Most of you don't know who Ray Edelman is. Ray Edelman was a high school coach in Philadelphia. He went with Dick Harder when he was at Oregon and at Penn State. The man was a basketball genius. Myself and 2 other guys, one's the head coach of Rowan right now, and they were like, we're I guess we're in our 20s. He would go to the bar at night and sit there and do X's and O's, talk about the game, exactly what you're doing here. So I thought that was important to share, that you know sharing is critical. Why am I here? To share information that you need or want or care to hear. Half of you will not make an impact in this game. I was asked on the way out, what's the most important quality in a coach? Passion! Now, I'm lucky I still have it. Otherwise, I'd quit the game. I'd have somebody else do this stuff. But I'm passionate. I was yelling at 13-year-olds the other day in the gym because I want to see them do it right. Not because I have something to say, but I have the passion for them to be great and do it right. So that's the number 1 quality. And what that passion gives you is believability. When you have to tell the story of play for me. Travis was talking up here earlier about vision. If you don't have a vision for your team and for yourself, you need to leave the room. Seriously. You're not going anywhere. You're taking a paycheck. And one of the biggest issues we have, the people at my level who've been here for a long time, half the coaching community in women's basketball has done nothing to get a job. I graduated and I was a good player. I want a job. No. And if I have my say in the future of basketball, I would like to see it become if you've coached, you get in. Or you spend your time learning the game. Now, a lot of you guys are here to learn. Where's the rest of the basketball community? Where are they at? Are they here? Are they spending their money to make themselves better? Or are they like, I don't need to hear anything? That's what we know. You don't think we keep count of, like was said earlier, we're watching you? The back of my door, my office, my assistant, who's up for a couple jobs, he was just at the University of Oregon men. He came before he left, he put a big head behind my door. And it had a picture of me and he put a thing, I am watching you. which I thought was kind of funny because when I see it every time, I'm like laughing. But you know what? I think I tweeted that out, and it's really true. I think Lisa mentioned it earlier. We watch. I was at Boo Williams coaching. I didn't want to, but unfortunately, some people got greedy and left. Person's back there in the audience, but I'm happy for their advancement. But the issue is, the kids want trust. Now, there's a book out there called The Truth About Trust. Anybody picked it up? No. There you go. One of the biggest issues I have, and I'm going to stop in 5 minutes so I can take some questions, and I will be here afterwards. One of the things that George Radling, who to me is like my second father, he's the man who saved me. I was just another one of those knucklehead people, and when he got in charge of Nike basketball, he stopped the spiral of just not moving forward. And he said to me, you need to read. And I was always a voracious reader, I stopped it. I was starting to go back and read. And I probably have about 1,000 books just in my one room. I have 3,000 downstairs. That's the problem when I go back to who's making decisions. Here's a question. How many people have coached at the high school or travel team level at least 2 years? Can you raise your hand? Well, there you go. That's why you're here. You're smart. Most of the people we know don't. So when it comes time for you to step up and get a job, or make that statement on the bench, or talk about recruiting, how do you know? I could talk here for all day, all night, talking about a variety of topics. Biggest thing is chemistry. If you can't eval and tell chemistry, you will fail. If you haven't figured it out, you need to find people who can help you learn that. Number 2, when you're evaluating, you need to make sure you have a pad and paper in your hand all times. You know how many people, I'll walk around and I'll see coaches without any papers, especially head coaches. Some of them I could start naming. Some of them, their bosses. They're your bosses. I know them. So in the end, I'll be like, what are you doing? Oh, my assistant's got that. I'm like, oh my God. But you know what? They can get away with it. And there are others who don't talk to anybody. Back in the day, we used to watch assistant coaches in the stands talk with their friends to plan where they're going out that night. And they're not busy watching the game. You don't think when it came time for their name that came up, we're like, nah, too busy. Doesn't care about the game, not passionate enough. We watch. And there's not most of the travel coaches are idiots. But guess what? People in the travel community, real people who've been around a long time, believe half the coaches are idiots. You people. And the respect factor comes from working hard, which is something Boo wanted me to reiterate again. It's not like go get me a Diet Coke, but understand your craft. Know your craft well. You know, I was on the way down here, I picked up a book, Game Changer, David McAdams. Anybody read this? Got it? Seen it? MIT Sloan. Anybody hear that? MIT Sloan Analytics, Sports Analytics Conference? This is the future of basketball. Sports analytics. MIT Sloan runs a conference in February. I went to it. And half of it is storytelling. The other half was plotting, determining, and the pros use it. Colleges, they don't have that expense. But if you want to be a game changer in X's and O's, individual talent execution, are your players getting better? Oh, that's another thing. Don't think that when we send you players from high school, we're watching to see if they're getting better when they come out. And we're doing an exit interview with them when they come out and say, okay, tell us about every coach on your staff and how good are they? Are they good or not? And we ask them. There's another We Are Watching You moment. Some books I have here that I just took a picture of. And one of the things a lot of you guys don't do is probably read enough in the psychology of the sport. The truth about trust, when buyers say no, 11 laws of likability, the trust edge, game storming, pitch anything, and the power of consistency, besides the normal outliers and blank, things like that. And actually there was a great discussion, you could probably go online, and Malcolm Gladwell, it was packed, it was a room this size, I mean sardine. Even I had to walk out. They talked about the 10,000 hour rule and is it valid versus a person's just born ability, which I thought was kind of interesting. You know, but we all already know if you're really talented, athletic, you're skipping those 10,000 hours. You just took 2 off or 3 off the list. The last piece, what it takes to be a great assistant? Relationships. Howard White at Nike. First thing out of his mouth. First thing I ever learned. First thing I learned at Nike. It's about relationships. And that is the truth. The other thing is, I don't like that person, I'm not going to talk to him. And it comes back to, you need to talk to him. You need to make as many contacts as possible. What does George say? Sometimes if you don't do it right, you need the same people going up as the same people going down. Well, the idea is for you're here to better your futures. And you need to ask and acquire as much information as possible. And that talks about talent, going young, being on the phone. And listen, head coaches, I'm going to tell you, if you're an assistant, don't become lazy when you get to be a head coach and act like you're pompous and you don't need to do any more work. And then I think it was asked earlier in one of the discussions about the head coach's work. Well, you want to defend your boss, etc. But guess what? You want to work for people who are working, because that ensures their success and yours. So you can get out of the game and get out of that position and move up. Now, I'm going to stop. I'll take some questions. I know I have some time left. I'll take anything. I don't care. I'll ask. I'll tell you any story on the planet Earth, since I've seen everybody.
Questions?
Jonathan Mason, Howard University. How many books do you read at a time? Because I know Coach Brad reads like multiple books at a time. How many do you read at a time?
I hate the man. All he does is call me up and tell me, I'm so far ahead of you. And he is, well, George has a habit of starting, well, I'm going out to LA next week. I'm going there Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. And on the way back, I mean, we're going to hit a couple of bookstores. With that being said, he'll take a book like this and open the chapters. You don't need to read a whole book. There's a book, Never Eat Alone. It's probably a great book for any beginning assistant coach. Never Eat Alone. It's basically a stay in contact, make contacts, networking book. About halfway through, I read it and I was like, okay, I'm bored. I read this. He's repeating himself. Next book. George will pick up the middle of a book and he'll read 3 and 4 books all over the place and underline them. Me, I take a yellow marker and I mark up my books because I can get people to type in. That's what you do. You get people to type the words you underline so you don't have to read a whole book and you pass on notes.
So what we'll do is we'll get Mike's book list, the books that he's mentioned. I'll ask him to email those books to me, and then when we do our recap and send it out, we'll send you all his book list. Is that fair? Yes.
I'll tell you one you want to read. You want to read Accidental Creative. Great website, accompanying website. Accidental Creative. Another one is Sway. Short, fast, quick book. It basically tells you what you're doing. How do you sway people to making that commitment? How do you understand the psychology of a young adult making a decision? That's why when you go to the bookstore, you see Why She Buys.
Sway, S-W-A-Y.
Sway. Sway. S-W-A-Y. It's Sway, the unintended consequences of something.
But guess what? We'll email you the book list so you all will have it. Next question, so that we got the book thing down. Next question. Adrian.
Adrian Walker, Auburn University.
Mike, what are one or two things you can tell this group right now that we should do, must do, when we walk out these doors?
Read. Read.
That's
Get,
one.
get smart. Second one, draw plays. I kid you not. Get an open pad and just in your head create game situations and do them. At the end of the game, you know, you need to come up with a play. You need to have it in your head. You can't guess. And you don't know the situation. I mean, those are beautiful scouts. But when you're at our level, you're a scout if you're lucky to, you know, have somebody say, hey, did you get a film? You just walk into Jim Cole. So you better have your stuff. And if you want to aspire to be a head coach, X's and O's.
Mike Glenn is a person who should be in your network. There's a lot of knowledge to be gained there. And right now, I would love it if you all would join me in giving him a clap. Again. Mike, we'd like to present you with this, a Step Up certificate. You can add it to the many pieces of accolades that you've collected over the years. Thank you. One more time, a clap. We also have some other folk that we want to recognize.
Profession. He's also worked on the men's side as well at Evansville College, and he has a little bit of both to bring to the table. And we welcome our guests today, and they're going to get started, and hope you guys enjoy it. Just to let you know, we are tweeting, the tweeting place. We want to make sure that you have the hashtags for both of these coaches, Coach OJMU, Coach Sean Regan, and Coach R. Mosley from Coach Mosley, and we want to use the hashtag a Step Up 2014. So if you're tweeting, use the Step Up 2014.
What we're going to do is, it was his idea, I got to do it. We want to start from the back. So we're going to start with behind the scenes first, and then go to practice, then go from the bench. So if you're following along, that's where I'm going to start with behind the scenes. And we're going to talk about behind the scenes, and then we're going to move on. So it's not just going to be me talking and then him talking. We'll go back and forth the whole way. So I took behind the scenes as what I can do to help support what we're doing. And you know, Johnny said something pretty perfect in the other room. We're doing the back-to-back was, what do you think is the most important thing to keep your culture, create a culture of winning? And I think as assistants, you have a chance to make a huge impact behind the scenes. And what I mean, how I mean is the statement, you can't think one way and act in another, I truly believe, okay? You can say that, I can ask one of you, but if you got truth serum in your body, I put a pill in you really can't. You can't think one way and act another. If Coach Brooks, wants to put in this certain play, okay, I got to come to terms with it in myself, and I got to be able to follow through with that. So you're going to be in some pretty heated discussions with players that he won't have a chance to get involved in, okay? And what I mean by that is, as an assistant, you can't have all 14 players coming to you, all right, and you really getting in with all 14 of those players. So, I may have 3 or 4, Coach Brown on our staff may have 3 or 4, Coach Williams on our staff may have 3 or 4, and Coach Brooks might have 2 that, will come in your office, plop down, sit down, and just let it go. Just hey, what's up? Hey, I broke up with my boyfriend, whatever. I'm having problems with my mom, blah blah blah. Okay, but that stuff I can't build that level of trust with all 14. Now, all 14 can respect what I do. I can't build that level of trust. There's too much time. There's not enough time in your schedule to build that level of trust. So, when you're in the office, okay, and when those players are coming to you, okay, the example I used in the last group, we had a point guard named Tariq Hislop. from Trinidad and was very opinionated, young lady, all right, very, very opinionated, okay? So we got our tail kicked at Virginia one year, and the 3-2 zone really bothered her. She was up top, and they strangled her. And she was one of our better players, and it was a year after we lost Dawn Evans, so she felt a lot of pressure to carry the load, and she did by the end of the year, but at that time it was the first game, and they worked us. So, before film, I was like, hey, come see me, come see me today, let's talk. So she comes in, man, we shut the door, and she is fireball. She is like, pointing fingers, hey, Coach Brooks didn't call right plays, and the post players weren't catching the ball, they weren't posting hard enough, and hey, all right, get it out, what else you got? Get it all out, get it off your chest, because something's bothering you, and it's not that. So, it kept coming, all right, get it out, and what I called it calm and misdirect. So calm her down, let her get all that stuff off her chest, the door is shut. She's not hurting anybody with that stuff right there. So the door is shut, calm her down, and how you gonna calm? Let her get it out. If she's holding on to all that stuff, okay, I'm gonna change how she thinks, but let her get it out first. Okay, so calm her down, misdirect. All right, and what it is, okay, hey, look, we're gonna take care. This is the first game for us as a coaching staff too. Trust us. Okay, I trust you, Tariq. I trust you. You're gonna get it done. All right, there's a lot I know. You guys are all recruiters, man. You can spin it. Okay, you can spin it. And you're not lying to her, but you can spin it. You can spin. All right, Tariq, look. It's a really tough game. They play 3-2 zone. We maybe should put you on the wing more. We maybe should put you in the corner. But we're learning this game too. Relax. Stop pointing fingers. Look, and you guys all see Jerry Maguire. Oh, you guys seen the movie Jerry Maguire? Really easy, right? All right. The part where he says, "You bet on me like I bet on you." Okay. I say that to Tariq to this day because what it does is, look, I'm going to work for you. I'm working to get this better for you. But you can't go in the locker room right now and be pissed at the post player because she wasn't posting up. She's going through her own battle, okay? So don't point fingers at her. Look at you, how you can improve, how can you lead us, and if she's not a leader, if it happened to be somebody else, how can you be a good teammate? So again, let her get it out, shut the door, let it flow, because that's your role with her. She's not going to go say all that stuff to Coach Brooks. She's going to say it to me. That's our role. So let her get it out, off her chest, okay? Spin it however you want to spin it, and then, okay, be smart enough to go to your head coach, and he's going to say, what's going on with Tariq? Well, Tariq feel a little bit of the pressure, and she came in pointing a lot of fingers. That's truth, okay? But it's not saying, hey, Tariq said, you don't know what the hell you're doing. All right? Because that's going to breed negativity. If I say that to him, like, hey, man, she said you're running too low, wasn't working, you should have been running too low. All right, so now when he goes down to practice, he's looking at her with a little slant. Like, man, she doesn't believe in me. So I'm not lying to either one of them, okay? What I'm doing is I'm creating a culture where trust and loyalty are high. I'm telling Coach Brooks what happened in the meeting because he needs to know how she's feeling. She's a point guard of our team, all right? But I'm not saying everything that she had to get off her chest. That's raw emotion. You guys all know when you're emotional, you say some stuff you shouldn't sometimes, okay? So get it out, get that done. Now go in the locker room and be the leader you're supposed to be. And tell that post player, hey, look, we're going to get this done. Trust me, we're going to get this done. That was our first game. We're going to get this done. And part of that, I'm talking about a lot of my points already, but find the silver, okay? Find something positive that she can focus on. Find something like, hey, you know what? I mean, it was tough at the top, but when we had you on the wing, man, you were good. You were like 4 for 5 when we put you on the wing. Man, you broke the press really well. We're in good shape with that. Okay, so find some silver that she can focus on. Hey, look, our next game, we got, such and such at home. We'll get this thing straight. We'll get the combo, the feel of the combo back. Again, find something positive to focus on. Okay, there's no good at undercutting, and I talked about that with your head coach, but there's no good at undercutting ever. Okay, with you're close with an academic advisor, and you guys go out to dinner, you go out to lunch. Okay, that's not a time to say, man, Coach Brooks trying to be crazy, man. He's crazy. No, it's not a good time for that either, because that's in the circle. That's in the circle of your university, and now that academic advisor goes and tells the football coach. Again, that's an undercutting, and undercutting doesn't have to be direct all the time. Okay, undercutting. I could be sitting with Tariq, and she could say, man, such and such, man, she always is getting out of run. She always has a knee injury or a hamstring. She's always getting out of run. She's always getting out of run. If I say, well, you know how it goes with her. Coach Brooks and her got a little thing, a special relationship. So, that's undercut. That's not direct. That's not saying she's a bad kid. That's undercutting. So what it does is when we're in the heat of the battle and Tariq doesn't trust, let's say Nikki, Tariq doesn't trust Nikki. Okay, now in the heat of the battle, that's going to come out. All right, and that doesn't help anybody around. So instead of that, now we like, I mean, what do you say? She's faking. You know, if I say that to Tariq, she'll back right off that thing. And again, change the way she thinks because she can't think one way and act in another way. Because again, we're in a business of raw emotion, man. Emotion is at our fingertips in games, okay, in practices. So you got to create levels of trust where none of that stuff is surfacing, and that's hard. That's hard to do. All right, off the court, okay, handle it. So kids are talking about housing. You know what's right and wrong. I don't know what your head coach has you doing for your role. Okay, you can put out fires without having to ask your head coach everything, and then tell your head coach, look, hey, here's what happened. I told them to go take care of this. I told them to pay their electric bill or something, you know, whatever the problem is. Okay, handle it and understand what's necessary to tell your head coach and what is, I call it a poke or a pinch. Okay, in the off season, there's a lot of potential for pinches. All right, because such and such said something. Right, you know, some stuff it's not that important. Okay, but I'll give you one example, and I'll probably have to turn it over to a coach over here. But we lost to Charleston this year, first conference loss, and played poorly. One kid did not play. Okay, she goes in the locker room and she says to our team, "Well, I didn't lose a game. You guys lost a game." Okay, so that's something when a player comes. I mean, I'm not in the locker room, so a player that I trust comes to me and says, "Hey, such and such said that," and I said, "Okay." All right, here's the deal. This is one of those things I got to tell Coach Brooks, all right? But don't worry, we're not going to throw you under the bus, and he's not going to throw me under the bus. But that's something that's pretty severe, okay, for our team and our chemistry, so he needs to know something like that. So that's a necessary thing that we need to know so he can address that, and he always has my back or our backs with that, and that he'll address it in an indirect way or, you know, he finds a way to do that. That's his job. But that's a necessary thing versus like, hey, I heard Tariq told Nikki, you know, something stupid. All right, that's just a pinch. That's just a pinch. All right, so understand the difference between those, a poke or a pinch is what I'm using. All right, and I really believe this. Okay, your job with those players, you get to know them. Okay, you get to know them. And my last example, okay, we had a kid transfer from a Big East school this year, and I think any transfer, especially this one, but any transfer, they have trust issues because clearly they're transferred from a school because something is not right and maybe they feel like a coach lied to them or whatever. So my sole focus for 4 or 5 weeks was to get her trust and sit down. Okay, sit down, let's talk. And I'm not talking about one thing in basketball unless she brings it up, unless she talks about, you know, Shabazz Napier making that move or something like that. But hey, what's up with your mom? Tell me about this. Wait, you never know your dad? Okay, boom, boom. 4 weeks, build it. And then you have her trust. So then you're working around and she's not working, you can get after her and she knows she's got you. But that takes a lot of work, man. I mean, sometimes it's like you gotta put your stuff down and really listen to what she's saying. She's telling you a story, you're not halfway on your computer, and that's funny, no. It's more of, all right, your sister did what? I mean, it could be the stupidest story in the world, all right, but you're locked into what she's saying, and again, it's build trust, just like your friends, just like your family. I mean, you got to build trust and genuinely care about what she's talking about. So again, I got through that stuff pretty quick. Most importantly, trust and loyalty, okay, is really easy to say, but make sure you guys are acting that way, just like you tell your players to act that way.
I think as assistant coach, it's important to know what you'll be responsible for and what's the expectation of the head coach. When I was in college, I sat in a business class, and one thing that I always remember is the professor said that all negotiations should take place before you sign the contract. Meaning, don't accept the job and expect your role or ask about your role, your responsibilities once you assume that job. You need to know this going in. If it's a position or a job in which you feel you're not able to grow or excel, and if you're in a position not to, don't take the job. Now, I can't tell you that you can only take jobs that you feel will grow you. In this profession, who's to say when or you will be out of work and you have to take a job. We have bills to pay. But that's a discussion that should take place prior to assuming that job. You need to know what's the expectations of that head coach and what your responsibilities will be. Also,
an opportunity for you to speak with that head coach and establish what your expectations are. What are your non-negotiables? You have to be willing to have that conversation. The way you enter a relationship is how you're going to be treated. If you want to be respected and conducted in a certain manner, you need to put that out front in the very beginning. Because the way they view you may change, but you can't depend on it. You set the tone in the very beginning of how you want to be treated and how you want to be treated. Responsibilities and expectations. Next, task versus projects. Simple. A task, Coach Landers comes in, he says, we have so-and-so recruit. What does her mom and dad do for an occupation? That's a task. Get on the phone, complete that, boom. That didn't have to be tabled or put to the side. Project. Coach, I want all the high school schedules for our 2016 recruits. Now that's a project. That's something that's going to require time. A lot of high school coaches may have their schedule. Hit them up, coach, I can email it to you, you can have it. Some, well, coach, we're still making calls. We got a couple of days to fill. That may take a period of time. Know the difference between a task and a project. Try to complete as much as you can in that possible day. Things that you can do. Certain things will require more time. But things that you can knock out, try to handle them and knock them out. Parents and coaches. I think this is an issue for your staff of assistant coaches. I would like to think that I have the patience of Job when it comes to kids, when I'm dealing with players. I do. I think I do. Now, as good as I am with the players, I'm as bad with the parents. I have a low tolerance for ignorance when it comes to adults. I don't. I do. And you have to know your strengths. Now, kids, patience, that's my strength. Now, we have JC, Joni's our Olivia Pope. Joni's great. She's great with talking with the parents. You know, that's her skill. She's good with the kids too, but that's a certain strength that she has. You know, I'm no nonsense. I understand a kid, there are things, and a lot of times we have to model and exhibit the kind of behavior we want. I just have difficulty dealing with parents. And Marlon brought up, how do you deal with, you know, I guess a bad parent? You know, I choose not to. And that may not be a luxury that you afford. When I was a high school coach, it was a standard. My motto was, basketball is extracurricular activity. You do not have to have varsity basketball to graduate. If you're not pleased, now come to me if you feel your child is being treated unfairly. You know, if they're being treated unfairly, kids on the team are picking with them. But outside of that, if you're unhappy, take your kids somewhere else. You know, this is the way we're going to do things. A lot of times they wouldn't pay for anything, so what are you complaining about? But that was just my mindset. I have a low tolerance for parents. But I think that is an avenue for every staff. You need to have a person who has that strength. And you have to know your strengths. And you have to be willing to work within those boundaries. Transition from recruiting to campus. That's very important. A lot of times as an assistant, you think your work is done once that kid signs. I think we talk about the high number of transfers. I think that's a direct correlation. I think the work begins once that kid gets on campus. You go from talking to a kid 3, maybe 4 times a week, to now that kid is on campus, and that kid has no clue. You know, that kid is accustomed to mom and dad waking them up in the morning, you know, probably transporting them, and now that responsibility falls on someone. You can't expect them to step foot on campus and they have all the answers. You have to begin to foster that relationship, and you have to be there. You can't just say, figure it out. You know, that's the toughest thing. You have to make sure, if you're sitting at home and you tell that parent, I'm going to treat that kid like their mom. Now, if it's a sale pitch, that kid will swiftly find out. But if you mean it, realize that means a lot of times your day doesn't end once you leave work. You know, being with girls or being a male, somewhat, that's kind of limited. I know a lot of times, JC and Angie, you know, it comes to just certain things, nails done, going with the girls, certain things, you know, I can't go with you and get your nails done. But there are certain things that you have to do to foster that relationship. It can't strictly be basketball, because when you recruited that kid, it wasn't strictly basketball. You portrayed yourself to have a genuine interest in that kid. That doesn't stop once that kid gets on campus. You have to continue to foster that relationship. Need to know basis. Your head coach throughout the course of the day has a lot on their plate. What we try to do is we try to handle the things that we can handle. You know, the head coach, and it depends on your head coach. I work for a guy that doesn't micromanage, okay? He lets you do what you do, especially once you've shown him that you're capable of doing it. You know, a lot of times you want responsibility and you want respect, but I'm a firm believer that has to be earned. Show me that you're capable of doing the task. Once you show him you're capable of doing the task, he's not going to worry. And the same thing with problems. Certain kids have certain issues. We keep as much off our head coach desk as you can possibly do. I can promise he will tell you that he's not concerned or consumed with very little outside of basketball. We do a good job of making sure that he's focused on the task at hand, which is keeping us employed and getting us done.
All right, moving on to practice. All right, if I ask every one of you guys out here, I said, what would be the most important thing you can bring to practice? You guys are all going to say energy, right? Probably, at least most people. All right, that's really easy to say. Really easy to say. All right, if you're going to commit to that, okay, you really got to be consistent with it. All right, that's one of the things I do. Okay, that's one of the things I pride myself on is that, man, sometimes you don't feel like it. Sometimes you get back at 4 in the morning. Sometimes you've been recruiting a couple days. You were working on your scout, whatever, man. You got a kid at home who's wearing you out in the morning. Hey, take 10 minutes, shut your door, do some push-ups, whatever. I mean, whatever it is, knock that Dive Mountain Dew down. Whatever you got to do to get it going, because as soon as you walk out to practice, they're looking at you, they're reading you, okay? And you're either going to fill their bucket or you're going to empty their bucket. I don't know if you guys know that term. I can elaborate if you want more, but again, it's just a metaphor for how you're going to bring energy to somebody. All right, you got to find a way to bring it. Find a way to bring it, and you know, if you're again, you got to be consistent with it. And if you're not, that's okay, but don't pretend, because they'll be like, if you come out at the beginning of the year, hey, I'm gonna be Mr. Energy. I'm gonna be Mr. Energy. Okay, now 5 days in, I'm not Mr. Energy. You know, man, kids will break you down. You said you were going to be Mr. Energy around here. All right, they'll break you down. So if you're going to commit to it and you're going to say, I'm going to be Mr. Energy, it's hard to do, but you can do it. You just got to find a way every day to do it. Okay, when you got a scout, when you lost 4 in a row, whether you just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You got to come with that attitude every day, and it's hard to do. It's not easy. You guys are going to think it's easy. It's hard to do, man. It's February 12th. You know what I mean? All right, one thing I did this year that might help, okay, this is an idea I had, okay, I said we were struggling with our energy level and our balance, and there was no kind of, I don't want to say energy because I've just said energy about 10 times, but we were struggling a little bit. Our 2 senior captains were not vocal, were not energy kids. They're good players, okay, but very dry, so they needed help. And we had just, we graduated a couple kids, so everybody was trying to step up into new roles. So I grabbed 3 of them that I thought could do it. Okay, Jasmine Blockney, Angela Mickens, who I will call Muff throughout the rest of this, and then Toya Jenkins, which I thought didn't have the responsibility of being a captain, but they could have the responsibility of being energy kids. So individually, I grabbed them and I was like, hey Jazz, look, you're gonna be on my positive team. We have a positive team, and you're gonna be on it. I'm gonna be on the positive team. You're going to be on the positive team, Muff's going to be on the positive team, and Toya. So we held each other accountable throughout the entire year. And you can't say that on Monday and then forget about the positive team by Thursday. Okay, if you're going to create something like that, just follow through with it. But it was good. It ended up being good. And when Jazz was down, the other 2 and myself, well, hey Jazz, come on man, you're on the PT, come on. And it was like a little secret that we had that no one knew about, and it made them feel special, and it made them invested, and it made them focus, had a focus every day at practice, that they had that responsibility to elevate practice as far as the energy level, talking, whatever, getting somebody hype, celebrate the play in practice, okay, but it gives them a responsibility, and you're not saying you guys do it, hold me accountable for it too, because I'm on the positive team, and I got to bring it every day. One story about that, one day we're doing position split, and I'm getting upset. I'm getting like, we're not working, it's January, and I'm getting pissed. and it's starting to boil up, and they're watching me, and you know, kids can tell, and Wathme comes over to me, and she grabs me, she grabs me real tough on the shoulder, she's like, Coach O, we got you, okay, be positive, we got you. And it was like one of those moments where, if I didn't, you know, it was like very aggressive to me, but I appreciate it, because I was boiling up, and I was going down the wrong road as far as my energy, okay, so, you know, that's important, and it gave them that responsibility. That really helped them, and it helped us. Now, I don't know if it was the factor that changed, you know, whatever, but it made them feel invested, and to this day, it made me feel invested too in that. All right, pre-practice, I'm like a little, I buzz around like crazy. All right, at JMU, and everybody's different, but we have 2 baskets. We have 1 floor, 2 baskets. That's it. Sorry, that's all we got, and that's fine. So, you know, instead of just standing under 1 basket, and I don't know what you guys do pre-practice, but we can't separate and get shots. Which, if you have that opportunity, do that, man, because that's engaging with your kids before the day. Obviously, you don't have to go hard, but hey, I saw this on film last night. You know, you're coming off that ball screen the wrong way, you're putting it down too early, or whatever. Yeah, engage them if you can before practice. Again, makes them feel important, makes them feel special. But again, you're only doing that if you have the knowledge to do that. So, anyway, back to JMU. We have 2 baskets, so, you know, usually one assistant stands under one, another assistant stands under the other, and kind of rebounds and talks, and I'm going everywhere, okay? I hit them all, okay? And I am in your face, man. I'm going to find out what's going on with Nicole today. I'm going to find out what's going on with any of you guys today, and I'm going to make you smile. And if you're good, I will get out of your face real quick. If you're not good, man, I am going to be on you. I'm going to get something out of you pre-practice, okay, to be like, look, man, this is not the doldrums. You're not being down, but what's wrong with you? Oh, man, what, you got new hair? Oh, that's what's wrong with you? Oh, you don't like your hairdo? Okay, I'm getting you going, man. Slap the ball out of their hands or something to get them going, man. Something to get them, like, you know, kids, they come to practice with no agenda. They just like, I mean, I know, and some of you guys played it. You know you did it. You know you came like, oh, man, I want to go to practice. Yeah, everybody wants the games. But create a little bit of a buzz before practice and get everybody's juices flowing, if you can. If you can. That's what I try to do. All right, when you're live, okay, I think it's hard if you're trying to watch everything. I think, again, everybody's situation is different, but Brooks watches the entire thing. I like to focus on 1 or 2 players. 1 or 2 players that I can focus on and give them feedback almost the whole day of practice. Now, it can't be the same 2 players every day or every week, okay, but one I focused on a lot this year was Angela Mickens, was Muff. And she needed it. She needed to develop into a point guard, and if I spent my time watching our 2 best players that he's watching, and they're good anyway. They're 5th-year senior and a 4th-year senior, right? They got that. And if I see something they do wrong, don't worry, I tell them. But it's constant with Muff. Hey Muff, no, you come down, you're passing a little bit off. Really zip it to him, get it right in your shooting pocket. Hey Muff, come down, hesitate before you go. Hey Muff, when you get to the baseline, remember that move we worked on? Turn the baseline around, Steve Nash it, okay? So like, but by a weekend, she was like, how was that? Did I do that okay? I mean, she wanted it, and it got better, but if I'm trying to focus on 8 to 10 different players, I wouldn't be able to give that personalized attention. We have 3 assistants, okay? There's plenty of eyes. There's 3 assistants and a head coach. Most of the time, there's plenty of eyes for you to see. All right, position split. That's the only time I get it, okay? Everybody's different. Again, I know Marlon, Maryland, they get, hey, Marlon, you do the 3-on-3 drill. Hey, Coach Atkins, you do the defensive transition drill. We don't get that. Kenny Brooks runs the show for the most part, so the only thing we get is position split. And I make that position split, okay, good. I don't make it like, again, it's all in the presentation. Hey, line at the top there, line over. Man, come on, man. The kids will eat that up. They will just chew you up if you come in. Hey, maybe you gather them together. Hey, look, we're playing Virginia Tech. They like to hedge on the ball screen. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to come off wing ball screen, deal with the hedge, and work on the moves after that. You guys got it? All right, look, let's be louder than those post players today. Look, you know those post players. They can't be loud enough. Give them something. Give them something, man. Instead of just trudging through the trenches like you do every day. Give them a little something to get them going. And it will go a long way. All right, preparation. He talks a lot about preparation, which is good. But again, don't flow through practice. Don't be one of those players that comes to practice with no agenda. And you might have stuff you've written down. Sometimes you might not see the practice plan. It doesn't matter. But if you're going 5-on-5, again, have a focus. Don't flow through it. Have a focus on what you're trying to look at so you can help. obviously position split you're in charge of, that's great. You know, maybe do some of the position split relative to that team, like the wing ball screen, or if Coach Brooks puts in a play 2-step before practice, okay, maybe we go through how the guard shoots that shot in 2 steps. So now you're hitting on the play he already put in, which again could reinforce, you know, maybe the memory. You know, kids can't remember plays anyway. But again, energy is a really tough thing to do consistently. Okay, so it's not something like, yeah, I'm energetic. Well, I'm still working on being energetic every day because that's hard. But set an example.
Practice. We touched on energy, i.e. be consistent. Every day at practice, win, lose, or tie, our players know what to expect from you. You're going to be the same guy day in, day out. My job as assistant, I think as assistants, is to be upbeat, to be positive. Play well, that's in games that you win and you play well, that's easy. We started conference 0-5. That's unheard of in Georgia. So I mean it was tough. So it would have been easy to go to practice and be down and be dejected. That's not what the kids need. Be the same every day. Be consistent. Kids respect consistency. If you're gonna be mean, you're gonna be a hard ass, be that every single day. You know, do not be up and down with kids. Preparation. This is about practice and also about your scouts. I firmly believe that competency breeds confidence. If you want kids to respect you, you know what you're talking about. Be prepared. Know your scout inside and out. We meet with Coach Landers before. If we play Sunday night or we play Sunday afternoon, if the next scout is Thursday, after the game we meet and we go over the scout. He usually plans practice before he leaves, which is easy on Sundays, but Thursdays we play. The game is probably about 9. We have fans, he does media, radio. We may meet about 10 o'clock at night, and we go through these scouts. So sometimes we're leaving 1:30, 2 in the morning. That's when I leave. He stays and he then plans practice. He may leave 4:30, 5 in the morning. He wants to be prepared. But when we sit in that scouting meeting, he tells me, he asks me how do they defend ball screens. They go over the day on that. You know, just certain integral questions, and he's a very detailed guy. He wants to know. It's my job as assistant coach of my scout to have those answers. Not I'll get back to you. Put in the work. Take time. Watch games. Watch film. Know your opponent. But be prepared. Ownership. At practice, I don't know how it is. With us, he divides. I have guards. Joni has posts. So, in practice, if coach says, this year we're a bad rebounding team, coach, the guards have got to help out. That's what he says. During practice, he's not going to say, guard, coach, the guards are standing and watching. That's my job. Go to the board. Crash the board. Once he's addressed the issue, it's my job to take ownership. That's a word I heard Coach May said yesterday. He said when kids go through drills, you have to own it. If you're in Georgia and you're in a meeting, Coach Landers is big on owning it. Make it yours. Own it. That's your responsibility. Scout is your scout. Ownership. Coach may watch a game and say, Coach, well, you know, I saw a game and they trapped balls. Coach, that was a mistake. I was watching. As an assistant coach, you watch more film than your head coach. I can promise you. They don't have time. So it may be certain instances, but what you give your coach is you give him a certain pattern of how teams play. Maybe a weak ball handler coach and they trapped that one particular player, but the pattern in the history of this team, and I've watched 8 to 10 games, is that they do not trap balls. And you have to say it with conviction because you're sound and you know that. Effective communication and verbiage. In this profession, I've been in the business 4 years. I've been at 2 different schools. When I got to the University of Georgia, Coach Landers' terminology was different than it was at the University of Alabama. It's your job as an assistant coach to speak the same language as your head coach. Coach Landers calls ball screens. He said, I've learned that kids reject ball screens. He says dishonor. If I'm incoming freshman, I would not have this coach saying they reject ball screen and this coach saying that they dishonor. It needs to be one consistent message. As an assistant coach, you change jobs, you need to take the time to learn the language of your head coach. Coach Landers calls it a butt screen. I always learn to call it a post screen. He calls it a butt screen at practice. it's a butt screen. In the game, it's going to be a butt screen. Every time they do it, it's going to be whatever he deems the call to be. You have to have one unified voice, and it's your job as assistant coach to get on the same page as that head coach and everyone on that staff. Man, at practice, the Georgia worked pretty good about meeting about practice. Coach Landers plans practice where we usually meet so we can make sure we're on the same page. Throughout the course of practice, Coach Landers sometimes may deviate. It's your job as assistant coach to make sure in that 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3-hour window that you have, that you're able to stay on task and get that done. It's not the head coach's responsibility. You can't afford to get lost. And a lot of it is your job to streamline that coach and bring him back so we can get what we need done in this proper amount of time. The why. Head coaches usually tell players to do something. Now, as an assistant coach, you have to know why we're doing it. And a lot of times, being able to communicate that with players will not take place during practice. And what you have to do is you have to find a moment in time where you're able to convey a point in a short window. Whether it be transitioning from drill to drill, and you have a small window, you have to be able to help that player in the best possible way in order for you to transition. You can't talk while the head coach is talking. Okay? So, or in some programs, assistant coaches can't talk, period. You know, and if that's the situation you're in, then I feel sorry. In some programs, that's just the way it is. You know, so I think you have to find a way to get the why across the players. Because kids nowadays, when I was playing, it was because I said so. That's all coach said, so we did. Well, kids today, they want to know why. Why? And the head coach is not going to take time out to explain the why. You know, they're going to say, get it done, or hell, I'll put somebody in that will. It's your job as an assistant coach to explain the why. Constant reinforcement. Most head coaches play the role of the bad cop. I think as assistant coaches, our job is to be the good cop. I think our job never stops. We're constantly building players up. Build them up. That's your job. Coach them up, build them up. You know, some days and some players, that's easier than others. You have to find something. He said, the silver lining, you have to find something positive to say about that kid. If there's nothing you can say positive about that kid here, you shouldn't have signed him. They have to be able to do something well. Find that, build them up, give that constant reinforcement. Navigating players. The head coaches usually focus on the task. We have certain kids in Georgia. We had a kid who, at the beginning of the season, we honestly didn't think that she would be able to play. And then we found out she was able to play, and then we thought she would play limited minutes. Well, you know, the guy seeing the kid was healthy the remainder of the season, but you have to find a way to navigate that player in and out of the drills. Head coach wants this drill done. You have to know how many reps that player needs. You know, and if you have kids in your program to play multiple positions, you have to make sure that those kids are rotating in and out. That's your job as an assistant. You are not afforded the obligation of just watching practice. Okay, you have to be involved. You have to know what needs to be accomplished, and you have to be a step ahead. You know, when you're transitioning, coach says what's next, you need to know what the next drill is. What are we transitioning to? Don't have to take time, pull out your practice report, and look down and say, we're doing this. Be ahead, all right? That's it.
All right, from the bench, that's part of what we do, games, you know? That's part of what we do. All right, from the bench, the hardest thing for me, and I think the hardest thing for a lot of you guys, can't be reactionary. Okay? It's a high emotional game, and everybody is reactionary because you're into the game. You're competitive, and everybody, I mean, it catches you real quick, all right? But your actions, believe it or not, are contagious. And what I mean by that is, okay, if I react negatively, I know my head coach is listening. He might not be looking at me. It might not look like he knows. But they hear, man, head coach, and if there's any head coach in the room, you know, man, you go on the littlest thing. You go on the very little thing where you hear me say, man, Waltham's not rebounding. Well, that might be true, it might not be true. Okay, I might be reacting to how she did that one play, but in the back of his mind, he hears that, okay? The same as players. When a player, good play, bad play, most of the time a bad play, they take a look. They take a look. If I go in there, boom, I get a charge, and the whistle blows, and I'm going to take a glance over at the bench. How is my team reacting to that play? Okay? So if they look over, and I'm like, God, man, I mean, that doesn't help anybody. Okay? Now that puts them down a little bit. Instead of like, hey, you good? Shoot that forward. You good? Come on. Get it back. Get it back. Okay, there's a huge difference in those things. So head coaches hear you, and the players look. So anything you do, okay, is noticed. Okay? And what I mean by being contagious, okay? Be positive or be calm. I'm controlling my emotions, and every emotion that I exhibit I try to make it calculated. So I try to control my negative, where there is very little negative coming from me at all, right? And I celebrate the positive. So again, those are most of the time, I try to calculate that instead of just letting raw emotion control what I do, okay? Part of that is official, and I know D got on me yesterday, okay? But that's a hard thing for me to do because, again, you're in the game, you're up 4, we got a lead, we're building a run, and now you call a charge, maybe block charge call. All right, it's hard, okay, because she's a great official. She is, one of the best ever. And she says that assistant coaches have a voice. I don't care, man. 90% of officials do not want to hear a word from you, okay? Unless it's a timeout and you're asking where the ball is, or first horn, that jazz, okay? They don't want to hear your thoughts on the ball. I don't care what D says. That's a wonderful thing that she says that. 90% they don't care. All right, so let it go. Let it go. Forget about the officials. Nothing you can do can help. It can only harm you. I lose control sometimes. I've been stared down. Coach Brooks has to say, hey, I got him. All right, you don't want to do that. That doesn't help anybody. Okay. So again, controlling your emotions with that. What I try to do is I sit at the end of the bench, and when the guards come off, they slap everybody 5, and they come back to me. Okay. So I know I'm the one giving each guard feedback as she steps off the floor. What I try to do is one critique and one compliment. All right. And Coach Brown from Duke is all the way back there. He's great at it. I've watched him before. He's in ears. Okay, in ears. Because again, the head coach might be chewing this kid out. If that kid sits back down, the last thing that kid wants is to be chewed out by you as well. They don't need that. They don't need that. So now it's a calming voice. Hey, look, you're all right. You're all right. I know you missed that box out. That's a big play. Who cares? There's a lot of plays left in this game. Say something. Say something. All right. Yeah, you missed the box out, but you'll get it next time. All right. One of my favorite moments. My first year as an assistant, we were playing at Indiana in the WNIT, and this kid she couldn't hit the broadside of the barn, man. Jasmine Lawrence. She couldn't hit anything, and she came off, and her head was down, and it was a tight game. So we ended up going to overtime, but in regulation, I said to her, I was like, look, Jazz, look, you can't. We need to bang your head. You're going to get more shots. Step up. I promise you, you're going to make a huge shot for us. I promise you. You got to believe me. You're going to hit a huge shot for us. I promise you that. We start overtime, and again, we were lucky enough to have Tim Young and Dawn, and they both had 30 at the time. But it was a simple down screen play. She popped to the 3 and banged the 3, and it was like, it's one of those moments that you always, it might have had nothing to do with me, but I felt like it did. All right. So give them a little bit, man. Give them something positive, something to. Hey, when you get back in there, don't worry, you're gonna make your next 5. You know what I mean? Like, hey, they can't guard you, man. Go attack the basket, especially, and communicate what you see, and that's important stuff too. Don't just give them, hey, look, you're good. Well, why am I good, coach? Some kids want to know, some kids don't want to know. But hey, look, I noticed when we're running 23 stay, that right side is really wide open. Take a shot, probe in there a little bit, see what happens. But again, communicate what you're seeing, but at the same time, like he said, pump them up a little bit. You're in a war, man. You do all this stuff, prep. That's the stuff before battle. It's the same as if we're in the military. You do all this prep, you get all ready. It's war. In war, man, it's high emotion. Okay, so again, little things. Give them little things in war. You're not going to be like, man, you're playing terrible. That doesn't help anybody. Hey, look, for today, and then afterwards you watch film. You break them down, you can cut them a little, that's fine. But give them little things to do, keep it positive, all right, and keep them up, because again, you're in a war, you guys are battling together. Okay, know your players too, and I'll give one more thing after this, but it's one of my girl Precious Hall from Tallahassee, okay? She's a kid, she gets very emotional in the game, and sometimes when she comes out of the game, she doesn't react well to what I'm telling her, positive or negative, okay? So I talked to her in film one day, and she said, sometimes, oh, I need like a minute or two to just calm down. I said, okay, look, if one of those moments come, just give me this. Just turn to me and be like, and I won't take it as disrespect, because I understand you need that 2 minutes. So we're playing Gonzaga in the tournament, and she got a 4th foul on a charge. She is like distraught. So she comes over, and it's 6 minutes to go in the game. Hey, P, you all right? And she just, okay, cool, that's fine with me. And in 5 more minutes, we'll talk about it. We'll get through it. But you got to know, some players that come off, like Kirby Burkhardt would come off, and she would be like, what do you see? What do you see? What's wrong with my shot? What's wrong with my shot? Some kids want to talk, some kids don't want to talk. But understand the difference. And instead of getting caught up in the emotion of the game, think about what you're going to say to each player. Watch Precious. Watch Mark. And when they come off, now you're prepared to talk to them. All right, last thing. I got a lot of stuff on here, but I could go for days. Last thing, okay, in reference to the whole thing, coach, like not everybody huddles. When there's a timeout, we huddle as coaches first, and then he goes and talks to the team. Not everybody does that. But be thinking about your next suggestion before it happens. Before he says, what do you think? Is his own working? Like, that's why you're watching the game. That's why I don't have a chart. Because I'm watching the game, and when we go to that coach's huddle, it's helpful. I mean, I know there's some Coach Law, I guess she is a head coach. I mean, it's helpful to have somebody like, hey, look, I think Muff could really get something if we go high ball screen with her. Or, again, suggestion. Not, man, it's not 3 lows not working. Man, you'll get cussed out for that. You will get cussed straight out for that because it's not helping. Okay, hey, look, can we go 25 against the zone? Maybe we try to get in there and penetrate a little bit. Hey, can we go too low? Maybe get a shot for Kirby on the opposite side. Get a suggestion. A head coach has a million things going on, man, and if you can give them a suggestion, a hard suggestion where, all right, now they can run with it. They might say no. They might say you're stupid. It doesn't matter. Now you got to make a suggestion the next time out too. But you're thinking, think versus feel. I really believe that, and that's where you can control your emotions and calculate your emotions. Think about it. Think about it. If you have a little pad, write something down. Like the next time I want to talk about zone over, I want to talk about changing to a press. Whatever. Write it down so you control it and you're thinking and you're giving head coach stuff. But there's so many ways you can impact. And generally, for me, it's just being positive. It's being positive. It's playing good cop, like he said, instead of the head coach has a tough job, man, but playing good cop with the kids, keeping them up.
Be prompt. You know what you're in charge of game in, game out. Most of the time, it doesn't vary a deviate. Goes back to ownership. Own it. Know what you're responsible for. Be prompt. Be ready for what you're responsible for, because that coach is looking for you to give him the proper amount of information. Because he bases his decisions off of what you tell him. Player position specifics. I'm going to tie that one with the last one. Treat every game as if it's your scout. If it's your scout, it's easy to be specific about players. Learn the scout. Read the scouting reports. Just don't say, well, I got 3 games in between my scouts. I can just literally check out mental and emotional. You can't afford to do that with your players. In Georgia, every coach recruits, every coach scouts. That's what you do when you sign up to coach for the University of Georgia. So, if you're in charge of the guards, my responsibility, and that's what I take it as, is to make sure that I'm in tune with my opponent, with their positions. I need to know what the 1, 2, and the 3, what they do, what their strong points are. Even if it's not my scout, I'm going to know that information. If it's not my scout, I will go to Joni and say, JC, you've obviously had, you have greater detail and information about this team. What can you share with me about these position players? What do I need to be able to convey to my position, to my guards throughout the course of the game to help them be successful? Be engaged. Make sure that you know your position and you know your players, if it's your scout or if it's not your scout. Have everyone ready. I like to sit, I'm usually the last coach on the bench. And I do that for a reason. I like to sit by the players. I don't know about your team, but everyone on the bench is engaged in the game. And a lot of times you look down the bench and we got girls playing with their nails. We got them looking in the stands. They have no idea what's going on in the game. It's my job to make sure that those kids are focused on the game. A lot of times I like to sit the kids. Usually you have a rotation. So you know who the 6th, 7th, 8th man is. Usually I like to sit those kids closer to me so I can kind of prep them to get ready to go again. But but make sure that they're ready to go in the game. Once they step on the floor, they should know who they're guarding. Well, who am I getting? Who am I serving for? Who am I guarding? What are they doing? Are they in man? Are we in man or are we in zone? You can't expect those kids to know. Should they know? Yes, they should. But is that honestly what you're going to tell the coach when that kid goes in the game and they have no idea what she should know? You're going to leave your livelihood up to 18 to 22-year-olds, or you're going to take ownership and make sure that that kid is prepared and prepped when they go. Assess and evaluate. Know who's being effective and who's playing. And it's sort of, well, who's getting it done tonight? You know, well, coach, this kid has played 5 minutes. She has 4 offensive rebounds. This other kid has played 12 minutes. She has 1 offensive rebound. She's 1 of 7 from the field. Obviously, we may need to give this kid more than 5 minutes. You know, make sure you assess and evaluate. And make sure that your suggestions are based off statistics. Not the fact that, you know, I really like this kid. She's a sweet kid. You may have a kid that you don't have a very good relationship with. But if that kid is productive and she gets the job done, and it, believe me, Coach Brown says it all the time, it's about wins and losses. You have to have the 5 people on the court that give you the best chance to win. And you have to know who those 5 are. The coaches a lot of times focus on the big picture. As an assistant coach, you're able to specialize and focus and lock in on certain aspects. Make sure that that's what you're doing. Make sure you're contributing, making sure that you assess and evaluate, and you're able to give positive suggestions to the coach. It's your job, and as an assistant coach, it's your job to make sure that they get the message. Even if they don't get it in the timeout, when they break the huddle, you can usually pull that kid and say, all right, we're the man. You're in the huddle, and they're 3 plays behind. They're still focused on the fact that I missed that wide open layup. I had an opportunity to score and I blew it. So you have to make sure that you echo and make sure that you see the players that need to relay the message. Some kids are already locked in. You don't have to focus on those kids. But you do know the kids, they're like, okay, that's the kid you need to focus on and make sure that you know what we're doing. Substitutions. I think some substitutions are easy. Coach, she has 2 fouls. Coach, she has 3 fouls. I think the substitutions that may get lost are coaches, it's the 4-minute mark, and this kid hasn't had a sub. Well, obviously it's the first half. Now I know conference games, our conference is extremely tough. Small margin of error, usually they're close games. Do you really want this kid to play 16, 18 minutes in the first half, and you know that this kid is going to have to go second? You have to find a way to suggest. Now that's what you have to do. You have to find a way to suggest. Your job as an assistant is to suggest. You cannot tell that coach what to do. All right, so you need to find a way at the proper time also. Timing is everything. You have to find a way and a time to make suggestions of when you can get certain kids breaks. It would be great if a kid can play 40 minutes. It's a long season. We know it as coaches. We wear down. And just imagine you're not practicing every day and you're not playing games. Mentally and physically, these kids need breaks. And as assistant coaches, it's your job to try to find a time when you can get kids breaks throughout the course of the game. Maximizing timeouts. We have a system in Georgia. Coach Crenshaw takes notes. We have Meredith Ardobo who does a plus minus. If something works, or whenever we run a play, Meredith charts the play, plus if we score, minus if we win. Coach Crenshaw writes the play, and if coach says, Kobe didn't cut hard, she makes that note, we need to cut hard. So when he calls a timeout, he's going to revisit the plus minus chart, and he's going to revisit what notes, what adjustments do we need to address during the timeout. But my job as a coach is to find your window. While he's consulting with Meredith and he's consulting with Johnny about the plus minus, that's my opportunity to tell the players what I see. You shouldn't have to compete, as an assistant, you do not compete with the head coach for time. When the head coach talks, everyone listens. So if you have something to offer, you have to find an opportunity when you can get your message across. Your message also needs to be the same message that the head coach is going to do. You're sitting on the bench. You know certain statements that he's made. You know what we need to focus on. All right? And needless to say, a lot of times with kids, you would like to think that the kid will know that the last 3 possessions, this kid has beat you going right. But you'll be surprised, kids literally play the game and they don't think. You know, so you have to be able to tell them a lot of times, just look, this kid is going to go right. Even if she takes a dribble left, she's going to cross over here, she's going to go back right. Make sure you force her left. And if you can't say that when the head coach steps into the hole. You have to make sure that you convey those points at the proper time. I'm quick. Halftime adjustments. Real quick. Be a problem solver, not a problem stater. They'll go in halftime and say, Coach, we're getting killed on boards. I mean, that's obvious. You know, halftime, come into halftime and have possible suggestions of what you can do different. Once again, I'll always say suggest. Terminology is big as well. Coach, we have to play zone. Well, when you say have to me that means there's no option. Okay? Find a way to offer and make suggestions. Coach, what do you think about us possibly going to? What do you think about maybe applying pressure? You know, what do you think about? Offer suggestions of what you can do differently. Understand, but I don't know, some of your head coaches may have some head coaches that are sensitive, may have some head coaches like, look, just tell me. You know, only you know the situation that you're in. Find the best way to navigate and be as effective as you possibly can in your situation. Thank you.
You have any questions for Danielle Benavie, Broward College, Junior College? With the staff of 2, just me and the head coach, how can I stretch myself to make it personal with all the players, me being the recruiter, main recruiter?
I would think in your situation, if it's usually a staff of 2, you probably do a bulk of the recruiting. So that relationship base is probably just a continuation of what you've already established in the recruiting process. And I understand with 15, you know, I understand he said they work them up. You know, you may interact with 8 kids, 9 kids, you may interact with all. Some kids are going to be low maintenance, some kids are going to be off to themselves. Some kids require more attention. They'll literally just come in your office, not want to talk, they just sit there. They literally sit in the chair and they'll text and they'll watch you work. You know, I mean, it varies depending on what each player needs. You know, I can't offer quick fixes. It's just like the scouts and the work that just has to be done.
It's going to spread you a little bit more thin, but you can do it. It's just you're not going to be able to watch that kid every play. You're going to have to watch those 6 kids, you know, and I don't know how they break it down guard posts or if they even do that, you know what I mean? But still trying to focus on something. I mean, some kids need more feedback than others, and I think just knowing your players and understanding, you know, who will want it, who needs to get better, who's okay right now, and maybe they're okay for this 4-game stretch, and now their shot's not falling, and maybe you got to focus a little bit more on them, and then, you know what I mean? So, again, figuring it out, and he's right, you'll get it done.
Nicole with Sharp 49ers. My question is, when you guys talk about the constant reinforcement, I mean, just about everybody will say that, you know, the assistant coach's job is to be the energy giver, to be the positive person, or whatever. Well, you know, I've been in situations to where I have been that, and then I've been in situations where, you know, my boss said, I need you to be the bad guy, which everybody knows me. You know, that's not me naturally. Which I did it, and we were successful, but it was like I hated myself. It was like I kind of had a dilemma within myself, and that was not me naturally. My players hated me. I'm all about the player relationship, but we won. They played for the head coach, went through the wall for him. Everything was great. So how do you kind of deal with that internally, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I've been lucky enough not to have that one. But I just think you can still work on building trust with them off the court. And I think the bad guy most of the time is practice, obviously, right? So yeah, I think as long as you know, as they know you got your best fit, you can even say sometimes like, yeah, you know I gotta be the bad guy. You know, there's Precious jokes with me because I'll get them. The only thing that gets me is lack of effort. And if it's lack of effort, I'll go. And And Precious knows, I mean, she jokes with me a little bit, but she's like, oh, you got that a-hole side in you. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do. Yeah, don't mess with me. Don't you, give me the effort, give me the energy, I'll be fine. But I don't think even when I rip them, you know, and that's a tough job, but I think that's probably prepping you to be a head coach better than it is me, because you're gonna have to be the bad guy as a head coach and you can't care. But I understand that part. I just think building trust and knowing what your intentions are in the end is not irrational ripping. It's like, hey, I'm ripping you guys for this, or I'm ripping you guys because it's lack of effort. You know what I mean? Building that trust up.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the same position. I haven't been asked to be the bad guy. But on occasions, you know, I am, my players, I call them the 3 S's that I just don't tolerate. That's selfishness, slackers, and then soft. I cannot coach a soft kid. I cannot coach a soft kid. Those are my triggers, okay? And but they know that going into it, you know, so they understand if you're slacking, then I'm gonna have a problem with it. You know, I'm not gonna be fine with 85% or even 95%. You gotta go. I need 100%. You know, because if you allow a kid to give you 95 today, I promise you tomorrow they're gonna give you 94. And you think about the course of the season, if that kid drops off every single day, you'll see slacking. And it's not just gonna be them, because kids are very attentive. If you allow those kids to slack, then the next kid can say, well, you know, I start too. You know, I started, and I was the lead scorer last game. That means today I can be as a practice. You know, I think you have to be consistent, whether or not good cop or bad cop. I just think as an assistant coach, they need to know what to expect from you on the day in.
Any other questions?
Tony West, free agent. When you're talking about being the energy and practice and everything, what do you do when you can tell as an assistant coach that energy is going down and you can kind of read with the players, but the head coach is not quite picking that up?
Are you ready to be fine? Let's get through this thing. Let's get something going. Instead of just in front of everybody, it's going to get shot down real quick if it's that type of day, you know.
Energy of practice. If you know the guy that I work for, he's on 10 when he walks through the door. And a lot of times, as far as addressing the energy level of practice, I think it's best to be proactive. You can see ahead of time certain kids that may not be putting forth total effort. And I think if it gets to the point with a head coach who's literally focused on the whole, if he or she is able to see it, then it's going on too long. As an assistant coach, you have to be proactive. You got to get to that kid. And I'm personally not the type of coach that likes to call kids out. Because a lot of times, like you said, that draws that coach's attention to it. So at any opportunity I get, I say, hey, we need to pick it up. I said, you're slacking. All right, I need to pick it up. I need more. And I think it's best to be proactive in those situations. Don't allow practice just to go downhill. Okay? And usually it's always 1 or 2. You know, what happens is the snowball effect. You allow 1 or 2 to get away with it, and then it's quickly 3 or 4, and now you see your practice level of intensity starts to